Support comes from the Rosa Parks Museum on Troy University's Montgomery campus. Located on the spot of Mrs. Parks' historic 1955 arrest and featuring exhibits that chronicle the history of the Montgomery bus boycott. More information at troy.edu/Rosa Parks.
From Troy Public Radio, this is the Newswrap from In Focus, and I'm Carolyn Hutchison. Todd Stacy, host of Alabama Public Television's Capitol Journal, discusses the Supreme Court's decision about Alabama's congressional map. And the Wildcard features a famous hairstyle. Todd Stacy, welcome back to the Newswrap from Alabama Public Television's Capitol Journal.
Good to be with you.
What's the biggest topic this week?
Well, I think we can finally put this to rest, but there's been one more redistricting decision. The Supreme Court ruled that Alabama will be allowed to use the congressional map favoring Republicans, essentially. There was a court ruling last week that the state needed to revert back to what the courts drew and what the courts approved. The state appealed that decision to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court agreed with Alabama. So the upshot is the map that the courts drew were more favorable to Democrats. That's how Shamari Figures got elected to Congress. So he's going to have a tougher time because his district, the 2nd district, becomes a lot more favorable towards Republicans.
So coming up on June 16th is another election. Which one is that?
This is the runoffs. We voted on May 19th for the Republican and Democratic primaries. You have to get 50% plus one to win. So candidates that didn't get that in races that nobody got 50% go to a runoff. So there's some big ones. U.S. Senate, that's going to be Barry Moore and Jared Hudson. Also Lieutenant Governor, that's John Wall and Wes Allen. Also Attorney General, that's Catherine Robertson and Jay Mitchell. So some really big races going to the runoff in just a little over a week.
I noticed in your Alabama Daily News this statement. It's really interesting. Republicans won the redistricting battle, but now voters will decide whether they win Congress.
Yeah, it's a truthful statement because there's been this kind of arms race, if you will, between Republicans and Democrats trying to add seats. Started in Texas where Republicans redistricted to try to get more Republicans to Congress. Then Democrats did the same thing in California and New York, and they tried to in Virginia. State after state is doing this, including Alabama, even though it's only one seat. If you add it all up, Republicans probably netted 10 more seats. We'll see how that works. But this is a midterm election, and the party in power, which is Republicans, historically loses seats in Congress. Of course, with everything going on, the president's approval rating's not great. That is a drag on the Republicans this fall. So if historical trends continue, then yeah, Republicans are at risk of losing Congress. So will that 10-seat bump be enough, or will their losses be more than 10? So there's a lot up for grabs this November in terms of who controls the majority in Congress.
Well, I think it's time for a wild card. What do you have?
Yeah, well, let's lighten up a little bit. And this is just hilarious. Over in Bangladesh, there is a buffalo that the local residents have named Donald Trump. And there's a good reason for that, because this buffalo, believe it or not, has a hairdo. It has a hairdo that looks exactly like Donald Trump. So if you could just picture the president's hair, very unique hair, on a water buffalo, it is exactly what you would think it is. And so they have lovingly named him Donald Trump. It's from the Associated Press.
A celebrity hairstyle.
Absolutely.
Todd, who is on Capitol Journal tonight at 7:30, Sunday at noon, and on YouTube?
Well, the election's coming up, so we're going to have the candidates for Lieutenant Governor. These are the two candidates in the runoff. Wes Allen, the current Secretary of State, and John Wall, the former chairman of the Republican Party. Last week we had the boys' state participants on, the governor and lieutenant governor. This week it's girls' state, and we'll have the governor and the lieutenant governor from girls' state, and it's always so cool to be able to interview them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was Todd Stacy, host of Alabama Public Television's Capitol Journal. More information can be found at the website aptv.org. Thanks for joining us for the Newswrap from In Focus, which is a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Carolyn Hutchison, and this is listener-supported Troy Public Radio.